What if one of the most valuable coins in America has been sitting unnoticed in a forgotten jar of pennies for decades? Imagine reaching into a container of loose change, pulling out what appears to be an ordinary old wheat penny, and discovering that collectors would pay a fortune to own it. Not hundreds of dollars, not thousands, but potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars under the right circumstances. Most people spend coins, coins world. Collectors study them, and that single difference can separate a missed opportunity from a life-changing discovery. Today, we're uncovering the mystery of the 1951 mint mark Thomas Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors, treasure hunters, and investors alike. While millions were produced, a handful of extraordinary examples featuring rare minting anomalies and exceptional preservation have transformed this humble penny into one of the most fascinating stories in modern numismatics. Before this video is over, you may never look at a penny the same way again, because somewhere, right now, hidden among ordinary coins, there could be a piece of American history worth far more than anyone realizes. The story begins in 1951. America was entering a new era. The post-war economy was expanding, factories were thriving, families were building wealth, automobiles filled the highways, and millions of Lincoln wheat pennies flowed through the nation's cash registers every single day. At the Denver Mint, workers struck hundreds of millions of pennies carrying the distinctive D mint mark beneath the date. To the average American, these coins were ordinary. To collectors today, certain examples are anything but ordinary. This is where our story becomes interesting. The vast majority of 1951 wheat pennies remain common and affordable. Yet hidden within this enormous production run are a small number of coins displaying unusual characteristics that have become the subject of intense collector demand. These are the coins that command attention. These are the coins that inspire searches through old collections. And these are the coins that create headlines when they appear at auction. Now here's a question. What if the most valuable coin in a pile isn't the oldest one? Many people assume age determines value. In reality, rarity determines value, and rarity often emerges from mistakes. A manufacturing error that should never have happened can sometimes create a coin that collectors spend decades trying to locate. That's exactly why serious numismatists examine every detail: the date, the mint mark, the lettering, the strike quality, the surface texture. Every tiny feature matters, and when something appears unusual, the hunt begins. Let's talk about the errors that have made certain 1951 wheat pennies legendary among collectors. One of the most sought-after varieties involves double die characteristics. This occurs when the coin die receives multiple impressions during production that fail to align perfectly. The result can create visible doubling on letters, numbers, and design elements. To an untrained eye, it may appear insignificant. To a collector, it can be a flashing beacon of rarity. The strongest examples show noticeable separation in critical design areas, creating visual evidence of a minting process that deviated from normal production standards. And collectors love deviations, because deviations create scarcity. Scarcity creates demand, and demand creates value. But double dies are only the beginning. Another category attracting enormous interest involves repunched mint marks. Before mint marks became part of the master die, they were individually punched into working dies by hand. This process occasionally created mistakes. If the punch shifted slightly between impressions, remnants of the original mint mark could remain visible beneath the final strike. These subtle anomalies have become some of the most studied varieties in American coin collecting. For specialists, identifying one is like discovering a hidden signature from the mint itself. Now for an attention reset. If you have an old coin jar somewhere in your house, think about where it is right now. Seriously, many valuable discoveries have come from coffee cans, dresser drawers, inherited collections, and forgotten piggy banks. The next great find rarely announces itself. It waits quietly until someone pays attention. Back to our story. Beyond double dies and repunched mint marks, some 1951 wheat pennies exhibit die cracks, die chips, cuds, strike-through errors, and off-center strikes. Each represents a unique moment in the minting process, a split-second manufacturing anomaly, a tiny imperfection, a mistake that accidentally created rarity. And here's the irony. The U.S. Mint spends enormous resources trying to eliminate errors. Collectors spend enormous resources trying to find them. That's one of the great paradoxes of numismatics. The very imperfections that manufacturers try to prevent are often the same characteristics collectors treasure most. Now let's discuss why some elite examples are considered ghost coins. Within collecting circles, this nickname is often used to describe coins that seem to vanish from the marketplace. They appear in records. They are discussed in specialist forums. They are referenced by experienced collectors. Then they disappear into private collections and remain unseen for years, sometimes decades. This creates a fascinating problem. Demand remains visible. Supply becomes nearly invisible. When wealthy collectors compete for a coin that rarely surfaces, extraordinary things can happen. Prices begin climbing, bidding becomes aggressive, competition intensifies, and suddenly, a coin that once circulated for a single cent becomes the center of a six-figure conversation. Think about that for a moment. A coin originally intended to buy candy now attracts the attention of serious investors and advanced collectors. That's the power of rarity. Now let's explore another critical factor: condition. Condition can dramatically influence value. Two coins may possess identical dates and identical varieties, yet one may sell for a modest amount while the other commands an astonishing premium. Why? Preservation. Collectors pay enormous attention to condition because pristine examples become increasingly difficult to locate as decades pass. Every scratch matters, every contact mark matters, every fingerprint matters. Professional grading services evaluate these characteristics using detailed standards that can significantly affect market value. The highest grade examples often represent the pinnacle of rarity, not because they are the only coins that exist, but because they are among the finest known examples. And when collectors compete for the best, prices can escalate rapidly. Here's another attention reset. Have you ever noticed how people casually throw pennies into jars? Imagine explaining that one of those pennies could potentially be worth more than a luxury vehicle. Most people would laugh. Collectors would start searching immediately. That's the difference between seeing a penny and seeing an opportunity. Now let's transition from rarity to value. The coin market has experienced remarkable growth in recent years. As investors seek tangible assets and collectors compete for elite specimens, demand for rare Lincoln Wheat Pennies continues to attract attention. Auction houses regularly feature exceptional examples that generate excitement across the numismatic community. When a coin possesses a rare variety, outstanding preservation, documented provenance, and strong collector demand, its value can rise dramatically. This is where stories involving extraordinary valuations emerge. The possibility of a coin approaching values discussed in the hundreds of thousands creates fascination throughout the hobby. And while such outcomes are reserved for the rarest and most exceptional specimens, the mere possibility keeps collectors searching. Because every major discovery begins the same way, someone takes a closer look. Now consider the psychology behind the hunt. Most forms of treasure hunting require expensive equipment, metal detectors, specialized tools, travel expenses. Rare coin collecting is different. The treasure may already be in your possession. That's what makes this hobby so compelling. The barrier to entry is remarkably low. The upside can be remarkable, and the thrill of discovery remains unmatched. Every penny becomes a possibility. Every collection becomes a mystery. Every forgotten box becomes a potential treasure chest. That's why millions of Americans continue examining old coins decades after they were minted. The chance of finding something extraordinary never completely disappears. And when stories of rare discoveries circulate through the collecting community, interest grows even stronger. Let's pause for another attention reset. Picture this. Tonight, somewhere in the United States, a family will open an inherited coin collection. Most of the coins will be ordinary, but one coin may not be. One coin could contain a rare variety. One coin could possess a valuable error. One coin could become the centerpiece of an auction catalog, and they don't know it yet. That possibility is what makes coin collecting endlessly fascinating. Now let's examine current market trends. Collectors today have access to better research tools, better grading standards, and better authentication services than ever before. As a result, rare varieties are being identified with increasing precision. At the same time, awareness of hidden value coins continues expanding through online communities, auctions, and educational resources. More people are looking, more people are learning, more people are competing, and competition fuels demand. Demand fuels prices. The market rewards rarity, especially when rarity becomes widely recognized. For anyone holding a 1951D wheat penny, the lesson is simple: don't assume it's ordinary. Examine it carefully. Study the mint mark. Inspect the lettering. Look for doubling. Look for unusual strike characteristics. Research known varieties. Compare details with certified examples. And if something appears unusual, consider professional evaluation. Because knowledge is often the difference between spending a coin and preserving a valuable asset. The truth is that most people never notice hidden opportunities. Collectors train themselves to notice. That's why discoveries continue happening generation after generation. Not because rare coins suddenly appear, but because someone finally recognizes what was there all along. As we reach the end of this story, one powerful truth remains. The 1951D Thomas Lincoln wheat penny represents more than a coin. It represents possibility. The possibility that rarity can hide in plain sight. The possibility that history can survive in everyday objects. And the possibility that extraordinary value can emerge from something most people overlook. Somewhere, a rare example may still be waiting. Somewhere, an overlooked variety may still be hiding. Somewhere, a collector's dream may be sitting quietly among ordinary pennies. And perhaps the next great discovery belongs to the person willing to look closer than everyone else. If you enjoyed uncovering the mystery behind the 1951D wheat penny, make sure you're subscribed for what's coming next. Because our next episode explores an even more elusive American coin. One so rare that seasoned collectors still debate how many examples actually exist. And if the stories surrounding that coin are true, its hidden value could make today's discovery seem small by comparison. What if I told you that a coin worth less than $1 at face value could be hiding in an old coffee can, a forgotten desk drawer, or a jar of spare change right now? And that under the right circumstances, it could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? Most people spend coins without a second thought. They toss them into vending machines, leave them on countertops, or drop them into tip jars. Collectors do something very different. They stop, they look, they pay attention to the tiny details that everyone else ignores. And sometimes, those tiny details create life-changing discoveries. Today, we're diving into one of the most mysterious and talked about modern American coin varieties ever discussed among treasure hunters and numismatic enthusiasts, the 1982 mint mark Monticello Thomas Lincoln penny dollar coin, a coin surrounded by rarity, unusual characteristics, minting anomalies, and whispers of values that have stunned even experienced collectors. Before you dismiss this as another ordinary coin story, ask yourself one question. What if the next coin you spend is the one collectors have been searching for? Because that possibility is exactly why thousands of Americans are now re-examining old coin collections, inherited jars of change, and forgotten bankrolls. And here's where things become truly fascinating. The year 1982 represents one of the most important transition periods in United States coinage history. It was a year filled with manufacturing changes, composition experiments, die modifications, and minting complexities that created a perfect environment for rare varieties and elusive errors. For collectors, 1982 isn't just another date, it's a treasure map. Many experts consider the year a turning point because the United States Mint altered the metallic composition of the Lincoln cent. Some coins were struck using the older bronze composition, while others were produced using the newer copper-plated zinc plant case. That alone created a fascinating collecting challenge. But when mint marks, die variations, striking anomalies, and unusual production characteristics entered the equation, the situation became dramatically more complicated. And complexity is often where hidden value is born. Now here's something that may surprise you. The vast majority of people can identify a coin by its date, very few can identify a valuable error. That difference is where fortunes are sometimes made. Imagine two individuals standing side by side. One sees a common penny, the other sees a rare minting anomaly with extraordinary market potential. Same coin, completely different outcome. Take a moment and think about that. In fact, if you have a jar of coins somewhere in your home, this might be the perfect time to mentally note where it is. You don't need to check it yet, but you may want to before this video ends. Now let's talk about what makes certain examples of this 1982 issue so intriguing. Collectors searching for elite specimens pay close attention to mint marks. Tiny letters that indicate where a coin was struck can dramatically affect rarity. In some cases, mint marks appear weak. In other cases, they appear misplaced. Occasionally, they display unusual characteristics resulting from die wear, hubbing irregularities, or striking inconsistencies. To the average person, these differences are invisible. To a trained collector, they can be everything. Then there are die cracks, die chips, off-center strikes, double impressions, misaligned dies, planchet defects, and subtle transitional characteristics that separate ordinary examples from potentially remarkable discoveries. Each one tells a story. Each one represents a moment inside the minting process when something unexpected occurred. And unexpected is exactly what collectors love, because rarity is rarely created intentionally. It is often born from mistakes. Here's an attention reset for you. Imagine explaining to someone that a manufacturing error increased the value of an object by thousands of %. Most people would laugh, until they saw the auction results. That's the strange and fascinating world of numismatics. The worse the mistake, sometimes the greater the value. Of course, not every error creates a fortune, but the right error on the right coin at the right time can transform an overlooked piece of pocket change into a collector's prize. Now let's discuss why some specialists refer to certain examples as ghost coins. The term isn't official, but among enthusiasts, it describes coins that seem to appear only rarely in public sales. They are talked about, rumored, documented by a handful of experts. Then they disappear into private collections for years, sometimes decades. This creates a powerful supply problem. Collectors cannot buy what they cannot find. And when demand rises while supply remains nearly invisible, prices can move dramatically. This is one reason why rare error coins often experience explosive auction performances. Not because they're merely old, but because they're nearly impossible to replace. Think about it this way. If a wealthy collector misses an opportunity to purchase a common coin, another example will appear tomorrow. If they miss a genuinely rare specimen, they may wait years for another chance. That fear of missing out becomes a powerful force, and powerful forces create powerful prices. Now let's shift from rarity to condition, because condition can be just as important as scarcity. A rare coin in poor condition may attract attention. A rare coin in exceptional condition can ignite bidding wars. Professional grading services evaluate factors such as strike quality, luster, surface preservation, eye appeal, and overall condition. Even a single grading point can mean the difference between hundreds of dollars and thousands. In elite cases, the difference can be much larger. That's why experienced collectors handle potential discoveries carefully. A fingerprint, a scratch, and improper cleaning. Any of these can significantly reduce value. And here's a question that deserves serious consideration. How many valuable coins have lost substantial value simply because someone tried to polish them? The answer is probably more than anyone would like to admit. Ironically, cleaning a coin often decreases its desirability. Collectors generally prefer originality, natural surfaces, authentic aging, the evidence of history itself. Now let's talk about the number everyone wants to hear. Could a rare example truly approach values discussed in the hundreds of thousands? In the world of elite numismatics, extraordinary prices are not impossible. When rarity, historical significance, condition, collector demand, certification, and market timing align, remarkable outcomes can occur. Stories of six-figure and even higher auction performances continue to fuel interest across the collecting community. And that's precisely why so many treasure hunters remain fascinated by rare 1982 varieties. The possibility exists, the dream exists, and sometimes, that discovery exists. But here's what separates successful collectors from casual observers. Successful collectors don't rely on luck alone. They educate themselves. They study mint marks. They learn diagnostics. They compare weights. They examine details under magnification. They understand the difference between a common coin and an extraordinary one. Knowledge transforms possibility into opportunity. And opportunity is what hidden wealth is all about. Let's pause for another attention reset. Right now, somewhere in America, someone has a coin collection inherited from a parent or grandparent. They may not know what's inside. They may not even realize they own it. Yet within those boxes, folders, albums, or jars could be coins that collectors have searched for over many years. That thought alone is enough to keep treasure hunters awake at night, because history has repeatedly shown that valuable discoveries often emerge from the most ordinary places: a basement, a garage, a dresser drawer, a forgotten piggy bank. The next great discovery rarely announces itself. It waits patiently to be noticed. And that brings us to the current market. Interest in rare coins has surged as more people search for alternative assets and tangible stores of value. Unlike digital numbers on a screen, rare coins can be held, examined, displayed, and passed from generation to generation. They combine history, art, scarcity, and investment potential in a way few collectibles can match. As awareness grows, competition grows. As competition grows, demand grows. And when demand grows faster than supply, collectors pay attention, very close attention. For anyone examining a 1982 coin today, the key is simple: slow down, look carefully, check the mint mark, study the surfaces, research known varieties, verify weight and composition when appropriate, and if something appears unusual, seek professional evaluation, because the difference between spending a coin and preserving a coin can be enormous. One decision leads to a cash register, the other could lead to an auction house. And while most coins will never achieve legendary status, it only takes one extraordinary discovery to change everything. That's the enduring appeal of coin collecting. The hunt, the mystery, the possibility, the idea that hidden wealth may be sitting quietly in plain sight. So before you ignore that jar of change, before you spend those old coins tucked away in a drawer, remember this: collectors understand something most people overlook. Value isn't always obvious. Sometimes it hides in tiny details. Sometimes it hides in mistakes. And sometimes it hides in coins that everyone else believed were ordinary. The 1982 mint mark Monticello Thomas Lincoln penny dollar coin continues to captivate collectors because it represents that possibility. A reminder that rarity can emerge from the unexpected. A reminder that knowledge can reveal opportunities invisible to others. And a reminder that extraordinary discoveries often begin with a simple decision to take a closer look. If you enjoyed uncovering the mystery behind this fascinating coin, make sure you're subscribed, because in our next episode, we're exploring another ultra-rare American coin that has triggered intense collector demand, sparked fierce auction battles, and left experts wondering how many examples are still hiding in circulation today. And trust me, the story behind that coin may be even more unbelievable than this one.